All over the world, Methodist hospitals and clinics offer healing and relief to people in pain. Much of this work is done in Africa. We have dispensaries at Wadi Love in southern Rhodesia and others in northern Rhodesia. There is a hospital at Marwa in Kenya with 50 beds. It was built in 1939, 23 years after our first West African hospital was opened. Today there is a hospital at Seguema, Sierra Leone, a dispensary at Dabu in French West Africa. In western Nigeria, the Elisha Hospital. In eastern Nigeria, we provide doctors at the government leprosy settlement at Uzakoli and maintain a group of 3 general hospitals, one of which is Itukumban. The nurses for these hospitals are Africans. Our big problem is to find suitable men and women and to train them. Applicants for nursing come mostly from Christian schools. Hospital entrance examinations are held twice a year. Female nurses must be 17 or over, unmarried, and have passed school standard 6. Sister's letter may be received with mixed feelings, but Matilda has confidence, and she is the type of girl we need. The entrance exam is mainly one of general knowledge. Having written all she knows about the questions, and added a few things for good measure, Matilda hands in her paper. A sister maintains law and order and stops any attempt at copying. The exam has a time limit, and although most girls finish within the allotted time, they retain their papers to the bitter end and brood over them. Africans expect a definite yes or no to things. They would feel injured if they had to go home not knowing whether or not they had passed, so papers are marked the same day. This is not difficult because seldom more than 12 girls are accepted for each exam. Anyway, it saves postage. The sister begins to correct the papers while the girls settle down to wait in the nurse's compound. Their future will be decided on a few minutes' work, a new life in clean surroundings, or the old primitive life in the village. To fail would be a bitter personal disappointment. And as all the villagers know about the exam, shame. Worried, Matilda? You'll know in a few minutes. The papers have all been marked now. Results of this hospital are average for eastern Nigeria. Upwards of 60% of the applicants pass their examination, but of these, only a quarter stay on after the probation period. Unsuitability for the task, family matters and marriage account for the 75% that leave. Has she passed? Of course she has. Now, for the first time in her life, she is preparing to stay away from home. Gone are the days of headloaders in this part of Nigeria. Cycle taxis have taken their place. The first takes her luggage. On the second one, she rides pillion, while her personal servant, with water pot, completes the convoy on the third cycle. The 40-mile journey to the hospital begins. It's goodbye to childhood, to cooking and cleaning in the family compound, to carefree days, to fun and games in the village. Ahead lies a life of ordered routine, years of training, tough but interesting work 7 days a week. Yes, this is Africa. Bush paths and tree trunk bridges, miles from where you've come, miles to where you're going, but still no hardship to the African. Only from the Europeans who want to rush along in a hurry come the complaints. The doctor to get to his urgent case, the missionary to keep his appointment in some distant village. Out of the bush to a main road. The hospital is well situated, a little way from the village, the market and the school, but close enough for laborers and builders. On a good road for the doctor's car, close to a river for fresh water, but still 100 miles away from the nearest electricity supply. The journey for the girls has ended, but it's only halfway for the cyclists. They should worry. They'll get at least 2 and 6 each for this. Everyone has a friend or brother in Africa. It's just like our meeting another Methodist. Matilda is expected and is greeted by a friend who takes her to the room she will share with another nurse. Matilda's life as a nurse has started. For 6 months she will be on probation, and here she is being measured for her first uniform by Victoria, the hospital seamstress. Victoria is quite a character. Not only does she make all the uniforms, but all the hospital mending comes under her care. She may not be quick, but she is thorough. In this part of eastern Nigeria, more and more people are wearing European-type clothes. Young girls invariably wear a shapeless dress of thin cotton material. The plain hospital uniform may not be very fashionable, but it does make some attempt to fit the figure. Complete with headgear, Matilda feels that she is at last launched on a career, the one of her choice. It's a great moment for any nurse when she enters a ward for the first time. To the other nurses, she will be the new girl, To the patients, she will look like any other nurse, clean, neat, and cool. But to Matilda, well, she'll just be scared stiff. She'll be clumsy and incompetent. And what's more, she knows it. Job number 1, help nurse to rearrange a bed. Not much in that, but it won't be long before she learns the importance of making sick people feel comfortable. Sweeping floors? My, I've done this at home for years. Yes, Matilda, but as time goes on, you will find how essential it is to keep a ward spotless. You will learn that prevention is better than cure. You will learn also that there is a right and a wrong way of doing things. For instance, this bandage. It saves time and muddle if it is done the right way. Wrong again, Matilda. It's not a train. Passing on her knowledge and helping in the never-ending job of teaching others is Staff Nurse Emore. General trained and a Class 2 midwife, she has been in the hospital for 7 years. First contact with the doctor comes during his rounds of the wards. An hour and a half's diversion after special cleaning and tidying up, but all the time she's learning. 95, 96, where is the beastly Mercury? It's all work, silly little errands to run, but it has its compensations, and after 5 months, Matilda is actually doing things in the theatre. The theatre, its tin roof absorbing heat from the African sun. It's hot, it's humid, there are flies around, and in spite of minimum clothing, the doctor and his assistants perspire freely as they continue their never-ending task of saving lives. It is at times like this that Matilda knows that she made the right choice, that she really does want to be a nurse. Incompetence and clumsiness are things of the past. Still a little excited, perhaps, but efficient now and with a touch of pride at being one of the staff with a job of work to do. At the end of 6 months, all probationers take an exam. Some of them have learnt very little, others quite a lot. The elimination process continues. For those who pass, 2.5 years of general training lie ahead. Ever growing is the need for hospitals and clinics. Ever spreading is the wonder of the white man's medicine. In all hospitals, mission and government alike, the cry is for more staff. The outpatients department treats hundreds of people weekly, provides more ground for training, a greater opportunity of meeting people who suffer from all the known diseases, malaria, VD, leprosy, bilharzia, ulcers, and yaws. Matilda knows where the Mercury is now, and it's just as well because there is only one fully trained nurse in the hospital. 6 more like Matilda are in their 1st year. One is in her 2nd and another in her 3rd year. The rest are probationers. Matilda has a definite flair for her job, and this helps to ease the burden of the 2 doctors and the 2 sisters. The fingers of the village girl now deftly handle dressings and instruments and bring comfort and healing to those in pain. Matilda has been at the hospital for a year. She is taking the first of the general training half-yearly exams. She's not scared now, and you can't catch her out with the question, is a mastoid an ear or tooth complaint? Now comes the more advanced work, jobs of responsibility to be done on her own. In the theatre, she selects and sterilizes the necessary instruments, knowing what is required for any standard operation. She exercises authority in the wards, and she, in turn, begins to show and teach others the way the job should be done. Training a nurse is more than developing skill, it is a matter of character, too. That is where the real strength of the Christian hospitals is seen. The Africans know that they will get loving care and attention, as well as medical skill in a hospital run by the church. At the end of the 3rd year, Matilda takes her final general nursing exam. She has worked hard in the wards and in lectures. She has shown that she can grasp the theory behind the work, though no one is surprised when she passes her final with credit. Matilda is going all the way, and her midwifery training begins. The days of the bush midwife are numbered. Thousands more women are having ante- and postnatal treatment every year. Hospital births are increasing. Apart from lectures, the whole of Matilda's midwifery training takes place in the female and labour wards and at outstation clinics. In our eastern Nigerian group of hospitals, an average of 4 children are born every day. Not all births are normal and easy. Some mothers have left it too long before coming for assistance. Others have been treated by bush midwives, and complications have arisen. Hospital results give encouragement to mothers and nurses alike. The time and trouble is well worth it, and it brings us into closer contact with the people from the spiritual as well as the medical point of view. Every day in every ward in our hospitals there is a short service in which the patients join. The nurses take it in turn to read the lessons, choosing their own passages. Fully trained, Matilda now takes classes of her own. This one is at a marriage training center. What? Not working? Matilda, what has happened? Today is a very special day. Matilda has not only been trained as a nurse, but also in the Christian way of life. She has been preparing for church membership, and now in the hospital chapel, she receives the right hand of fellowship and is then permitted to take communion. After 7 years at the hospital, Matilda leaves to take up an outside appointment. She is to be in charge of a 4-bed bush maternity home. After so long in a hospital, it seems a little lonely, but Matilda doesn't mind. For the first time, she finds herself entirely responsible for the well-being of her patients. The society maintain homes like these, but it's the native administration, the equivalent of our local government, who pay the nurses' salaries. Under the Colonial Welfare and Development Scheme, the government and the native administrations are rapidly increasing their health services. They have the money, but are short of staff. That is where we come in. For years, our training scheme has been in operation. Now we have been asked to extend it. Without people like Matilda, plans for the future are useless. We are giving all the help we can, but in so doing, we are parting with our best trained people. More and more, therefore, must be trained to take their place. Financial aid for this will be forthcoming from the government, who are now realizing the value of missionary work. Without the church, education would have been almost non-existent, and it's only from the educated, those who can read and write, that the supply of nurses can come. These bush maternity homes not only cater for childbirth, they have antenatal clinics also. Once every week, expectant mothers come from miles around to be checked over. Saturdays are busy days for Matilda, and a sister comes from our nearest hospital in case there is anything too difficult for Matilda to handle. Everyone treated in these clinics gets a card on which the date of their visit, their general health, and any recent developments are recorded. At the same time, a complete record is kept in the official book. They all look forward to their day at the clinic. It's a diversion from their home life, and as some of them come from villages as far as 20 miles apart, it makes clinic day a gossip day. Matilda examines them all. She reports to Sister, who enters up the book. These African nurses give grand service to the community, not only when they are working at hospitals and in outstation clinics and bush dispensaries, but in the village life in which they join. Their Christian training enables them to play a full part in local affairs. Stretchers are almost unheard of outside the hospital compound, and if someone is seriously ill, they are often carried to the nearest health center on a bed. This woman may have come for miles over rough bush paths, up and down hills, over narrow tree trunk bridges, in the heat of the midday sun, carried as one long ago was carried to the master by 4 men. Matilda can see at a glance that the woman requires aid that she is unable to give. The only thing she can do is to write to the doctor, giving him details of the case and asking him to come as soon as he can. In the meantime, she will do her best to make the woman comfortable. Yes, it means a boy on a cycle. Not a taxi this time, but just any boy who happens to be hanging around. And there are always plenty of them in Africa. The hospital has a telephone, but there are no such amenities at the Bush home. Still, it's only 20-odd miles, so with any luck, the doctor will arrive within 3 hours. Having 2 doctors at the hospital is a great help. One of them can nearly always get away for such an emergency. He brings a nurse with him in case the woman has to be taken back to hospital. He may need help on the way. Matilda keeps her contact with the church by attending Sunday morning service. She gets very little free time, but if her patients are all right, she may call on friends on her way back. Most of her friends have been her patients. Friendship is her reward. Matilda, can you help me? Don't tell Mother, but I want to be a nurse. Can she help her? Of course she can. And she does. She knows the girl and has no hesitation in recommending her. 8 years have passed since the letter inviting Matilda to sit for the entrance examination was written. 8 years in which other girls have been trained, in which more than 200 such letters have been sent. And so, here we go again. An entrance examination will be held. It's a great weapon of evangelism, and many an African girl has been brought to a deeper love for her Lord and a firmer faith in him through an African nurse.